What if a date ruled your life? For most people in Australia, the 26th of February 2001 is a meaningless date. It's 21 years ago. It might not be of any real importance. Does it mean anything to you? For New Zealand citizens living in Australia, 26th of February 2001 determines whether or not they can receive support from the Australian government. In 2005, Jane moved to Australia. She was only 8. She hasn't been to New Zealand since. Jane has no family, friends, and no supports in New Zealand. She calls Australia her home. She studied, worked, and began her life here. She has friends here, family, and relationships, one of which turned violent. Jane had to flee. She found shelter in a refuge. Her world was upturned and she needed help. She went to Centrelink for help. Jane was told she'd receive support for 6 months, then it would stop. That was it? All she'd receive. Jane had lived most of her life here. She worked, studied, paid taxes, and that was it. What happens after that's run out? What if you're in the middle of a pandemic and your 6 months clock's over? It doesn't get renewed. There's no additional 6 months, no special circumstances where it continues. It doesn't matter if you're homeless. It doesn't matter if you're fleeing domestic violence. It doesn't matter if you've only ever called Australia your home. It's not in the ANZAC spirit of mateship to leave our friends, our family, our neighbours with no support. For 21 years, New Zealand citizens living in Australia have been left with no support. What happens to people like Jane whose lives are upturned? We ask the Australian government to extend special benefit to New Zealand citizens, to fix this gap for a fair social security system.